Welcome, Carm Capriato, the Service Aftermarkets podcast pioneer with the gold standard of aftermarket business podcasts. Join me for Aftermarket Insights as we advance the aftermarket. And as always, know that you'll learn just one thing. Find us on your favorite podcast listening app and remarkableresults.biz or on my YouTube channel. Hey, welcome everyone. It's Carm Capriato, Remarkable Results Radio. Good to have you here. We have been so busy traveling and doing a lot of conferences. I want to remind you all that Apex is coming up. We'll be there. That's our next big conference, November 5th through the 7th. If you earn your living in the automotive service aftermarket, then Apex is for you. AAPEXshow.com. Get out there and register. See all the great classes they have set up for you. Hey, welcome, my friend Maryann Croce from smallbizvantage.com. How are you?
I'm doing well, Carm. Thanks.
Thanks for coming back for this really great series we're calling Unstoppable. Actually, you're calling Unstoppable, the framework for auto shop owners. We've already done episode 1, which is called The Foundation. It was a great episode about core values. Thank you for that. And we're about ready to do right now, master your finances. Can't wait.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's
Mastering
do
your
this.
finances
Yeah.
is amazing, right? It's one of the things that is a challenge for a lot of shop owners. So, this is what we're covering today, mastering your financials. And I encourage people to take notes in the episode, and there is a worksheet that will be provided as well. So the Unstoppable framework is a part of my 3-day weekend system. And the simple goal is to gain 10 hours a week in 90 days. Put an end to owner overload. That's a tongue
Yeah.
twister, right? And
Yeah.
you know that feeling? It's that feeling that you're going 24/7. That's really what it is. Make your business more profitable, sustainable, and enjoyable. So, in this 5-part series, I'm pulling back the curtain to help shop owners have a rewarding business and life. It's not about adding more to your day, it's about subtracting. And the magic of being unstoppable is in the doing, even when it's uncomfortable. We all talk about that as growth, right? It's what makes successful shop owners resilient and adaptable, both personally and professionally. So rid yourself of the excuses. Sometimes we call them reasons that are holding us back. Because here's the thing, if you defend them, you get to keep them. So it's time to let them go. So today, I'm unpacking mastering your financials. And what this does is it's for a shop owner, it helps them gain confidence on being an owner. Financials are more than reports, as a lot of people think of it as daunting. There's a lot of emotion when it comes to money. So, healthy profits are essential for a business not only to be profitable, but to be sustainable. Without healthy profits, your business is surviving. And I know you've done episodes, Carms, on this. So I look at profits, healthy profits, as a win times 4.
Yeah.
So it's a win for the business, right? It's the business is healthy. The second thing is a win for your team and your team's family as well. The third thing, it's a win for the customers, your customers, and the community that you are a part of. And the fourth one is it's a win for you and your family. So, a lot of times when I speak with clients or I'm speaking with shop owners like at an event, sometimes there's this feeling of profit is more of a selfish type of thing, or greed might be a word that they use, but it's not selfish. It's actually selfless because you can actually serve and help more people. You can better serve people and you can help more people if you have healthy profits.
Yeah, I know. I'm so in agreement with you. Got to have profits. Okay, how do I get them?
Right.
Let me see. Sales, gross profit, expenses. I got this financial statement from my accountant, and he's not necessarily, an automotive person, can't tell me how I can make improvements in it, which is what we do so much here on the podcast. And in fact, all you have to do is listen to Hunt Demarest podcast on the Aftermarket Radio Network and just learn so much more about the financial side of your business. However, I know I need to make more money, but I'm struggling as to which components of what I control, sales, margin, and costs, do I have to work on? And I know the answer to that. It's all of them.
Exactly. Running a successful shop today is like really driving a car. If you're not keeping your eye on the gauges, you could run into trouble.
Good
So today
analogy.
I'm talking about mastering your financial dashboard. Now, I know when you think of all of the shop owners here in your audience, the ones who are listening, have you ever noticed how a customer neglects their warning lights until it's too late? Right? We've all seen that. Well, sometimes we tend to do the same thing when it
Yeah.
comes to the business finances. So, mastering your finances is a great way to gain control, predictability, and peace of mind in your shop. So, today, what I want to do is cover these three topics: understanding your financials, building reserves, and developing financial literacy. So,
Beautiful.
yeah, understanding and controlling your finances. This really puts you in the driver's seat because that dashboard, it tells you how your business is performing. So your profit margin, this is like your gas mileage. It tells you how efficiently your shop is running. This shows up on your P&L, which is known as a profit and loss statement or sometimes called an income statement. Profit margins are the percentage of revenue that's left over after all expenses. It's a critical metric that measures profitability. So, why does this matter? It matters because a low profit margin means pricing issues, or it could mean inefficiency with your processes or high expenses. So, improving it directly affects how much money stays in your business. Now, how do you actually calculate this? So, there is a simple formula. If you were to look on your profit and loss statement or your income statement, whether you have a bookkeeper, an accountant doing it for you, or you're doing it yourself, basically what it is, you take your net profit, you take that number at the bottom, the net profit, and you divide that by your revenue. And what happens is you're going to come up with a number. It's going to be point whatever that number is. Multiply that times 100, and that is your profit margin percentage. That's a percentage. So I want to give you a quick walkthrough example so this is real. So let's just say that your shop made 1 month, the sales, the revenue that came in was $100,000 that month. And you looked at your profit and loss statement, your income statement, and it showed that you had a profit of $10,000. Your profit margin is 10% because you take that net profit in that formula that I gave you, which is $10,000, and you divide it by the $100,000, and it's going to come out to be zero point 0.1. And then you multiply that times 100, and then you get 10. Profit margin is 10%. You
Or
have to,
or Marianne, the shortcut is just move the decimal over 2
right, or
spaces.
you could move the decimal over. Exactly. You could just move it
Mhm.
over and then you're done. But that simple formula, it doesn't matter what the numbers are. Once you have that formula, you can do it with any type of number.
Stop for a moment. There's so much talk in the industry about at least minimally making a 20% a net operating income from that you see on your income statement or profit and loss statement. And when you see a 10, you say, well, I've got a long way to go. I get all that. But if you're not getting the percentages from your accountant, if the accountant doesn't show what percent your net income is of revenue, you need to be sure that all of your categories, gross margin and costs, have a percent of sales or revenue so that as you look at KPIs and match them amongst peers or coaches, it
Mhm.
gives you a much better idea as to what percentage of my revenue am I spending on marketing? Am I spending on other really key critical components? Training as an example. And I thank you for bringing that up because I think it's critical. Just don't look
It's
at the numbers. Please look at the percentages also.
It's so important, and you can have to your point, you can have a bookkeeper, an accountant run it that way for you so that you can see all of the percentages. That's
Yeah.
something that you can have them do for you. It's not hard at all in software today. So I'm glad you brought up the 20% because I really do wanna compare really encourage shop owners to compare their profit margins month to month against those industry benchmarks. And to your point, 20% is often seen as healthy for auto shops. Here's though what I want people to realize. I've talked to clients, I've talked to other shop owners like at industry events, things like that. And a lot of times what I find is they will say, "Well, I do have a healthy profit. My numbers are really good." But when you dig a little bit deeper, you'll find out that they may not be paying benefits to their team. So if they were to add in benefits, that profit margin really wouldn't be as high as they think it would. The other thing a lot of times they don't do is they're not paying themselves for the role that they're in. Meaning, if they are still a technician, are they paying themselves a technician pay? If they're a service advisor, are they paying themselves a technician pay? Because if they have to replace themselves for any reason, their numbers are skewed. Their numbers aren't there to be able to now have someone else step into that role. And what would you pay that person? So it's very important to dig a little bit deeper and understand that. So I want to give you an example. If a shop is doing $1 million in sales and they have that 20% profit margin, then they would have $200,000 in profit. Well, a lot of people that are owners or have become owners think, "Oh, 200,000, that would be great. That would be my pay and that would be fine." But they don't realize that all that money does not go to the owner. Okay, I use a really basic example here. Think of it as thirds. Okay, you split that in three. So we're talking a third goes to taxes, a third goes to be reinvested in the business, whether it's going to be bonuses, additions, equipment, remodeling, anything that may come up in the business. And then a third goes to the owner. So, what we're talking about here, just in general, we're talking about $66,000, $666,000. That's what we're talking about. Even the IRS wants an owner to be paid a reasonable salary, and that wouldn't be considered reasonable. So it's very important to realize this as you're going through this, because I see a lot of people leave that out.
The NAPA Now event is a national ownership workshop for our valued Auto Care members centered around business building training from industry leaders. Now, it's not just about owning a shop, it's about owning your future. Join NAPA April 15th through the 17th, 2025 at the Venetian Resort in the heart of Las Vegas, known for its vibrancy, energy, and entrepreneurial spirit. At the event, ignite growth through business building masterclasses from leaders across multiple industries focused on expanding business opportunities. Now, masterclass topics include future-proofing your business, mastering emerging technologies for growth, leadership dynamics, inspiring, engaging, and driving success, shifting tides, understanding evolving consumer behaviors and your bottom line, and young leaders' lasting legacies, mastering succession planning for future growth. Foster collaboration with other like-minded NAPA Auto Care members and store owners. Stop at Supplier Studios for training, visit Auto Care vendor partners, and finally, join us in celebrating 100 years of NAPA Auto Parts, along with kicking off the next 100 years of partnership. There will also be exclusive giveaways. There are many incentive opportunities to offset the cost of this trip, including Auto Care program earnbacks, and beginning in October, earn up to $1,500 with pre-show supplier training to prepare for the Supplier Studio training sessions. The NAPA Now event is a national ownership workshop for our valued Auto Care members centered around business building training from industry leaders. Now, it's not just about owning a shop, it's about owning your future. Join NAPA April 15th through the 17th, 2025 at the Venetian Resort in the heart of Las Vegas, known for its vibrancy, energy, and entrepreneurial spirit. Get ready to grow, connect, and celebrate. This is an exclusive event limited to the first 2,000 Auto Care members. Packages are going fast. If you're interested in attending, contact your servicing NAPA store or NAPA salesperson. The sustainability of the business, I love what you said, you've got to reinvest back into the business. That's where new wages, that's where equipment, all of that comes from the profitability of the company. And how many
Yeah.
people at the end of the year, the accountant comes in and says, "Hey, you made $125,000. And the next thing they say is, "Any idea where that money is?"
Any idea where it is?
Yeah, and
Exactly.
then it's the management of the cash, and without the good disciplines of knowing what you can and cannot do with that and where it needs to go, what bucket that money needs to go into, you
Yeah.
end up running out of money.
And that's another thing that you brought up that's really good. The challenge here is I see the next part of this is cash flow management. So
Yeah.
cash flow is like the oil, right, in your engine. Without it, a car can like just come to a halt.
You're stuck.
You're stuck. So
Yeah.
cash flow really is the movement of money going in and out of your business. It's actually liquidity. It's what is available to pay bills, to pay your team, and to pay yourself. So it's really important because why this matters is cash flow management really ensures that your shop doesn't run out of money, even if profit margins look good on paper. That's what you were just talking about,
Yeah.
Carm.
Yeah.
Think about cash flow as the lifeblood of your shop. So, I want to share a quick story because what I've seen is many businesses will fail or really, really struggle because they didn't anticipate how much capital or cash they would need on a monthly basis. They end up going into debt. They get themselves in there. And I'm going to share a quick story. It's a common story. I've seen it with clients too, but this is our own personal story because we don't all know it all. There's no way that we know. So when we first started our shop, my husband Tony was doing a lot of the sales, the front counter, service advisor, and he established relationships with a few accounts, small, I would say false, small fleets, like maybe a contractor, HVAC person, alarm company, had a few vehicles on the road, and they had a great relationship. So any of the drivers that broke down would automatically know to bring the vehicle to our shop. Well, here was the problem. Tony was building relationships with these accounts, and what he did was is when it came time to pay the bill, of course the driver didn't have any way to pay for it. My boss will pay for it. The owner will pay for it. So we would send an invoice, give a call, and they would say, "I'm a little bit short. Can I pay you in a couple of weeks?" Then before you know it, it was a month. And now you add this up with multiple accounts. And this was causing a little bit of angst between Tony and I because I was like, wait a minute, this accounts receivable rack over here is really getting larger and larger. This is money that we don't have in our account. Well, finally, I reached my limit. And I don't know why it took me so long, but I said to him, look, we have $50,000 on this rack of accounts receivable. We need this money. This money is not in our checking account to pay our team, to pay our bills, to pay for our parts vendors. We are playing bank. These accounts that you've established aren't using credit cards. You have become the bank for them.
Yeah.
And that was a light bulb moment. He
Yeah. Yeah.
realized what he was actually doing. So
Uh,
I sent letters to everyone that the payment needed to be made and that we established going forward that the payments would be made when the job was done. And it worked out great. We had one actual account that didn't stay with us.
Maryann, I'm going to guess that the money that was in your AR for those accounts was the profit on those accounts.
Exactly. When you think about it and it's gone. It's just a story, an example. It's real world. That's how
Yeah.
it happens.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's all, unfortunately, it's all too common. So best practices for this is invoice, like learn by my example, invoice customers quickly. There may be nuances. We have everyone pay because I'm a shop owner myself as well. I still have a shop. We have everyone pay at the time of, they're coming to pick up the vehicle,
Yeah.
but we do work for municipalities, we do work for dealerships as well. So there's a few one-off accounts, but basically what you want to do is you want to invoice quickly and you want to follow up
Yeah.
if for whatever reason someone didn't pay. And another thing to realize is you can actually talk. You have relationships with these suppliers and vendors. When it comes to your expenses, you might be able to spread them out and avoid large payments all at once or negotiate payment terms because maybe you don't want everything due on the 10th or the 15th. Maybe you want to split it up and you can have some vendors or suppliers where it's due on the
Yeah. Yeah.
30th, right?
Yeah.
You can do that.
I got a warning, and here's my warning. don't go out and ask for payment plans if you're not trying to fix your business and you're not trying to build your profits and build your cash. Because if not, you're just going to get in a deeper hole. Extending payments, if the cash isn't coming in and the profit isn't coming in, is just going to make you not sleep at night. Because I love one of your terms, money is emotional.
Oh, it is.
It's on both sides of the coin. The customer, it's emotional for the customer. It's emotional for the owner. And I would have to say, those 2 o'clock wake ups for a lot of people have got to be about paying the bills. Is the margin right? Paying my people, all of that, because it still ends up being at the bottom line money.
Exactly. And you brought up payment terms. And what I mean by that, I want to clarify is if you are using, a lot of times what happens is the parts that we're getting billed for in the month of September, we're not paying for them until October when we get the statement from there. What I'm not saying is negotiate that you're going to only give them a partial payment. If you can negotiate and say, look, I'm paying in full. I'm paying in full every month. That's when you can say, oh, can we change the date just so that you can budget. But always the idea to have that power, to have that conversation would be you're paying in full. So if there was any misunderstanding about that, I want that to be, clear with people.
Sure.
So, yeah, you're using the cash flow forecasts really to plan for the future and identify even slow seasons. So that's important too because your fixed expenses are still there even during the slow times. You
Oh,
still
sure.
have to pay rent or mortgage or any of those types of things. So it's important to do that. So you want to really understand what your business needs, right? Whatever it needs a month, you want to know. So really controlling those expenses. You want to keep track, review expenses regularly and identify unnecessary costs. You want to really do that because sometimes you'll find out that you've had subscriptions to things that you're not using anymore.
Yep.
You, it's really important. Using budgeting to set spending limits, that's important too. Just like you do personal budgeting, where you say, okay, this is how much money we're going to put aside for a vacation. This is how much money for food. This is how much money for entertainment. You do those same things in your business too. You want to set spending limits. And this is a big tip that I have to go over with people a lot. Separate personal and business accounts. Any type of expenses, anything that goes through the business, separate them. This will really maintain clarity on your actual shop expenses.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So we really want to control it because when we do this, we're keeping track on everything and it really helps control the bottom line. When you think of expense control, it's like similar to using a torque wrench. Precise adjustments can prevent major breakdowns later.
Yeah. I want to make a comment. There's an awful lot of theory out there about why anyone goes into business. And they say that there's two reasons. Number one is to make money, and number two is to sell the business. And we've discussed over all these episodes that we've done over 9.5 years, the whole theory of personal, as you were just talking about, running personal stuff. So if it comes time that I'm going to get ready to sell my business to you, one of the things that you're going to ask me is we've got to normalize the profit and loss statement, or at least
Mhm.
I want to tell you that I need to add back all of these costs that I have nicely used on me personally. And you may agree or disagree that there's a number that needs to have an adjustment. I love your point. Be careful what you're using personally. Just pay yourself some more money if that's the case. But normalizing an income statement may be necessary at time of succession transfer sell.
Yeah, absolutely. You make better decisions when you know what the true costs are, what the true numbers are in your business, and you know you're more confident as well as an owner.
Yeah, and if you're also comparing KPIs with a peer group as an example, which is like one of the best things that's out there, be sure you've got a great handle on your size of business, your type of business.
Mhm.
You don't want to say, well, okay, my KPI is a little higher on that percent, my uniform thing, because I'm putting something from personal in that account. And it's easy to do and it's cool because I'm the owner and I can do that stuff. But it's not the way business is done today.
Yeah, it's too much work on my end, and I guess this goes into my core values, and this is one of the things that we discussed in the first episode, but core values, you know what? Your team is watching you. Anything they
Yep.
know, and I don't think it
Absolutely.
sets a good precedent for running the shop. That's just my personal feeling.
I'm with you.
Yeah,
Okay.
they're watching you.
Yep.
So the second part of this is build financial reserves. And if the pandemic didn't teach us this, then I'm here to remind you of it. So a cash reserve is your shop's spare tire. When you hit a bump, you've got a backup. So how much to save? For years from a whole bunch of different sources, people were saying 3 to 6 months of operating expenses at a start. I suggest start with 6 months. You want to aim for 6 months. And I'm suggesting this as a financial reserve because it could really provide a cushion to weather downturns in the business, slow season, or unexpected repairs like equipment breakdowns, things like that, that you're going to need for your business.
And just
So,
look at what's going on with the weather. I mean,
uh,
I think that's a factor.
exactly. So break down the numbers in a real simple way. If your shop's operating costs are $20,000 a month, then what you're looking for is if you're going to look for 6 months, you're looking at saving $120,000 so that you have 6 months of operating expenses. So why does it really matter? Well, you really want to understand that a buffer allows for strategic decisions rather than being reactive during those challenging times, those lean times. When you have a reserve in place, you can really afford to hold out for better deals, make repairs without stress, even take advantage of opportunities because you have that money, those funds, and it gives you peace of mind. There's that emotional aspect of money as well that we were talking about. Having that reserve really does allow you to focus on running your business, not just surviving. So you're actually able to plan. You're not in survival mode where you're just trying to get through the month, the week, or even the day.
Agree with you. And the other thing I think about too, let's go back to the pandemic, and hopefully nothing like that ever happens before. And of course, we were an essential and we kind of helped ourselves and had some of the best years in our industry than ever. However, think of this, losing a key, one of the best talents in your marketplace as far as a technology specialist, being able to possibly keep someone on the payroll gainfully employed, even though the revenue wasn't coming in, is what you could use that for. Because if you had to shut down, as an example, and lay people off, people need to also eat and find other opportunities. They may move away. I think that reserve is one of the most critical strategic decisions you could ever have. Yeah.
Absolutely. And you brought up a really good point. Again, a lot of the people during that time period, yes, they did do well. And those were the people that really were going out there and being present. But there were also shops that had to close,
Yeah.
that did not survive during the
Yeah.
pandemic. But you are right. I agree that a lot of people did do well because we were considered essential and they did put steps in place. So the idea here is don't just think that you have to come up with that money all at once. Set aside a small percentage of the monthly sales, even if it's just 5%, look at it like this is something that I can do, right?
Yeah.
Small
Yeah.
actions will really, really make a big impact. They'll really help. And you can do this where you can even have that money automatically transferred if you want. It could be
Yeah.
something like that. You could
Yeah.
set it up so that you don't see it and, it's out of sight, out of mind.
So the pandemic bump is over, and that's the reason that Maryann is here to do a 5-part series. We did foundation in episode 1. We're almost completed here with talking about master your finances. Still a lot of really cool stuff to come up. Number 3 is going to be optimize processes and empower your team. Our 4th episode will be stay customer focused. and flexible. And number 5 will be build a resilient mindset and plan ahead. I love these. Can't wait. So let's continue on with finances.
So this is the last part of develop financial literacy, right? And you don't need to be an accountant, but you do understand the basic financial statements. It's really key. So you really want to understand your profit and loss statement. It's your shop's report card. It tells you if you're profitable, and your cash flow statement shows where your money is coming from and where it's going. It really helps with that. Another it is a balance sheet, and a balance sheet is a great also report as well. And really a balance sheet a lot of times is used for everything that the business actually owns and what the business actually owes. So
Yep.
it's
Yep.
right. And then
Yep.
what's left is the value of the business. And that is a report that's used a lot when you're going for financing, you want some type of loan, you're going to the bank, or when your business is being sold. So that's another good statement to actually be able to look at and understand. So here's my tip on this, because for many owners, this really seems daunting to them. Spend like 30 minutes a week learning one financial term, one concept, and then use that tool in your shop. It's a tool. That's what these are. They're resources and they are tools. So I want to give you a real kind of example, real life, real world. So a client, Joe, that I have was really struggling and he really didn't have cash flow, tight cash, and he didn't have reserves. That's what it was. He didn't have any reserves set aside. So by just saving the 5% of sales, when he did that in 6 months, he found that the cash flow now stabilized and he felt healthier about that. And he had the confidence to make better decisions because what happened was just putting that little bit aside made a huge difference in running the day to day. Now, quick little steps that you can take, right? Start small. Track the cash flow weekly. Until you get really used to this and it becomes a natural habit, track that cash flow weekly. Want to build a buffer, save money, save a small percentage of sales, put it aside. Again, you will get used to doing this and then one, learn and improve. Take one small step weekly that'll improve your financial literacy. It's great to learn all this and it's exciting when you understand, you become more confident in all of your decisions because again, it's so emotional. It affects home and it affects work as well. Just like in my story that I was telling you about,
Mm-hmm.
Tony, it,
Yeah.
it was a big stress reliever for both of us.
Yeah.
So really helping and mastering these finances in your business, it is huge because it helps you run a more profitable, sustainable business. And your business actually becomes more enjoyable as well.
Well, this was great. Thank you so much for this. Any final words? Something we missed that we haven't covered yet in this whole master your finances side? And you have given us such incredible pointers. Hopefully, to your point, you've taken notes and you've said to yourself, I got to work on that thing Maryann just said.
Yeah. I think the one thing that I would add is when I do speak to clients is that a lot of people seem a little bit uncomfortable sharing the financials at first. They
Yeah.
might be a little bit embarrassed. They don't know enough about them. I want to let people know you are not alone. Business finances are not something that a lot of people understand. You weren't taught it in school. And a lot of times, wherever you worked before, it wasn't something that was shared. It's more common, the struggle with the financials is more common than you think. So definitely reach out. Do not be reluctant to get guidance or help.
Thank you so much. And please listen to Hunt Demarest on the Aftermarket Radio Network. I learned things, and I think I may know finances until I listen to Hunt and get
Yeah,
his
Hunt is great.
perspective. get his perspective. Maryann Croce, smallbizvantage.com, and Croce Transmissions out there in Norwalk, Connecticut. I can't wait for episode 3. Thank you so much for coming on board the Remarkable Results Radio podcast with this great series, the Unstoppable Framework for Auto Shop Owners. Thanks, Maryann.
Thanks, Carm.